Alright, it's been a little while since I've done one of these. I know when I started watching Bleach, I just kind of sped through it. I really wanted to get to Soul Society, and I'm glad that I did because it was really good. And I watched the whole thing in like 2 days, but I got a little sidetracked after that and have been busy finishing up schoolwork for the year, which is fortunately over now. And then I was reading some other series like Chainsaw Man and something else that I'll be starting videos for as well on this channel. And I kind of forgot about Bleach for a little bit. So, at a very slow pace, like a month, I think at this rate, I got through the first arc in what I guess this would be categorized as like the Arrancar saga. I'm doing this based on the arc lists on the wiki. So with this, let's get into the Arrancar arrival arc. So the overarching plot, I would generally say, is about Ichigo learning to control his inner hollow, which was something that was alluded to in Soul Society when Hollow Ichigo came out, so that he could beat Byakuya. That's sort of like the overarching plot. Then you also have the introduction of the Arrancar, which are essentially these evolved hollows that have gained the powers of Shinigami and can use Zanpakuto. It was basically all stuff that's coming out of Aizen's thing at the end of Soul Society, where he talked about how there is a limit to how powerful a Shinigami can get, and he wanted to use the Hogyoku to pretty much like create a hybrid between Shinigami and Hollow. From what I remember, it's been a little bit. That was his plan. And we sort of see two different avenues into this. In the Arrancar, which are Hollows that evolve to be more like Soul Reapers, and the Vizards, who are Soul Reapers that have the ability to create hollow masks and give themselves like enhanced powers. I think it's sort of like Bankai, a bit, in the way that it's like a transformation power-up thing. Right off the bat, they introduced the Arrancar. We have the return of Grand Fisher, who I fortunately didn't forget about. And we also get the reveal that Ishin, Ichigo's dad, is a Shinigami, which I already knew. But it was still cool to see the reveal. And I had never considered the possibility that Ishin would be the one to kill Grand Fisher. I always thought Ichigo would do it at some like important turning point in his character arc or something. But it makes a lot of sense that Ishin would do that, considering Grand Fisher is responsible for killing his fucking wife. So that works. The Vizards are cool, for the most part. There are a couple of them that I'm just like, whatever. But Shinji's pretty cool. I had seen his haircut originally, and I was like, uh-oh. I do not like that haircut. Which is weird, because I'm actually quite fond of a lot of characters with that haircut. But, besides the point. I'm watching this in the dub, and Shinji has like a really good English dub actor. I was kind of shocked. He's kind of scrawny, but the voice actor actually works really good for his character. I'm quite fond of it. Then we're introduced to the other Arrancar, like the guys wearing the pseudo-captain uniforms and working for Aizen, and we're introduced to the Espada, who are the top 10. The top 10 strongest Espada. Like, I know their ranking is based off their Ryatsu or whatever. Or no, the Espada are specifically the strongest, and their ranking is based off their Ryatsu. I already know that they're not progressively stronger based on their number ranking, but the three Espada that we're introduced to are Ulquiorra, Yami, and Grimmjow. And Grimmjow is sort of the main antagonist for the whole middle section of the arc. The arc is sort of split into like 3 parts, where you have Like, the first act, it's the introduction of Ichigo's conflict with his inner hollow. Then you have the invasion of Grimmjow with his cadre of Arrancar. And then you have the Ichigo training as the last part of the arc. The middle section of the arc, which is where most of the action happens, you got a lot of character development for Ikkaku. It was funny when he was originally introduced at the start of Soul Society. I thought he would just be kind of a one-off character. I didn't realize he would end up being so important. But his Bankai is fucking awesome. And I realized that I thought I had seen some Bleach fight years before. You know, like when you're like a preteen sitting around in your house and you're bored and you're like, man, there's nothing going on. I'm gonna look up some cool anime fights to watch on YouTube. And apparently I had watched Ikkaku fighting guy with the lava arms or whatever. You can't fucking pay me to remember the names of the lower ranked Arrancar. I'm just not going to even bother, because pretty much all the other ones got like no diffed as soon as their power seals were released. But it was interesting to see that. There's not much more specifics I really want to get into. I'm gonna kind of get into some critiques, because I actually like this arc, but I think it has some issues. The first is the presence of the filler shit. So I did not watch the Bound arc because I don't care about filler. I just want to get through the canon story so I can get to the manga. And a lot of these characters from the filler arcs show up. They show up prominently in several episodes and keep interrupting stuff. And it's kind of annoying because I don't know who they are and I don't care who they are. And some of them are kind of annoying. You have the Mod Souls, whose names I don't care enough to remember. And the guy who I think was the main antagonist of the Bounce arc, I mean, he showed up in Ichigo's hollow hallucinations or whatever. Oh yeah, that's another thing. I think it's kind of cool that Zangetsu has two aspects to his personality. That's just kind of neat, I guess. Beyond the filler stuff, I know they're gonna get into it later, but I thought it was kind of weird how Uryu just kind of got shafted. I know he lost his power, but he shows up at the start of the arc, and his dad shows up, and he's like, Uryu, I'll teach you how to regain your Quincy powers as long as you promise not to fuck with the Soul Reapers anymore. And he's like, whatever. And then he disappears for the entirety of the arc, and then shows up a little bit every once in a while. I get that his promise to his dad meant that he wouldn't be involved in the story much for this arc, but could you have at least shown him a little more? I almost fucking forgot that he was doing stuff. It did at a certain point I just sort of forgot that he was a character. What else? I don't think there's really anything else I have too much of an issue with. I thought that Ichigo's hollow training was just kind of bland. It was just him it was just rehashing all the major fights from the last two arcs, and then it's just, Ichigo, you need to fight or whatever. Okay, and now I've controlled my inner hollow. It's whatever. Oh, and that was another thing. I didn't care for him getting depressed at the start of the arc because he got his ass kicked by Ulquiorra and Yami. Because you've gotten your ass kicked before and you haven't gone on this slump before. I guess it's because he's gotten strong enough to fight captains and shit. but like it still felt kind of unnecessary. Like he gets really down for a whole episode, and then Rukia comes back, and then he's fine again. It just kind of felt like they were like killing time with it or something. Now, something that's not necessarily an issue I have, like, it's not like a glaring issue that ruined my enjoyment of the arc, but I'm starting to notice more of the power scaling issues, especially with Grimmjow. So Ichigo with just Shikai was able to beat Kenpachi. Now I understand Kenpachi's power scaling is wildly inconsistent. But that's that's part of the problem as well. So Ichigo with just Shikai is able to beat Kenpachi, and Kenpachi is able to beat Tosen using his Bankai. Now Ichigo with Bankai gets his fucking shit pushed in by Grimmjow, but when Grimmjow goes back to Hueco Mundo, Tosen cuts his arm off without Grimmjow being able to really do anything. Now, unless my memory is failing me, which it may be, who knows, maybe Grimmjow was surprised or something. It seems like he and Tosen aren't on very good terms, and Tosen was talking about killing him anyway, so I would have expected him to be ready for a fight anyway. Or he was uncertain about starting shit in front of Aizen. But, like, do you kind of see the problem there? Where a character that Ichigo beat in a weaker form beat another character, and that character was able to beat a character who bitch-slapped Ichigo in a much stronger form than he was originally. Like, you get what I'm saying here? It's just, like, wildly inconsistent. But I'm not going to bitch too much, because I liked the interaction between Tosen and Grimmjow. So, it's not too much of an issue. I'm just kind of nitpicking, so that I have stuff to talk about. Because, this arc isn't really as full of stuff as Soul Society was. It's pretty simple. It's just like a big chunk of fighting and then training. It wasn't like 10 different plots going on between various characters like there was in Soul Society, because there were so many other characters that were important. Unlike in this, where the only really important characters you had were Grimmjow, Ikkaku for a bit, and then mostly Shinji. The other Vizards are like kind of neat. Some of them I don't care about, like in terms of their designs. But for the most part, like Shinji is the poster boy of the Vizards. We at the end of the arc, we learn about Aizen's goal, which is apparently to get to the Soul Palace and kill the Soul King, which it sounds like a completely pointless figurehead to have. Like, he seems like sort of a religious figure, but it's like, yeah, the Soul Society has a royal family, but no one has ever seen or talked to them before, but they're there, in another dimension. Like, I don't know, it seems like that, unnecessary anime thing they add in anime so that you have, like, a giant nebulous entity in the background to be like the big godhead whatever thing that everyone's like, oh yes, the Soul King, the Devil King, shit like that. Now that I've bitched about this arc for 10 minutes, I'd probably give it like a solid 7 out of 10. It's not bad. It has a lot of really good moments. Ikkaku's Bankai moment was really cool, and I quite like the Arrancar. They're very interesting, and I like the Vizards as well. So, this arc has definitely introduced a lot of interesting concepts. I understand it's the start of the Arrancar saga, so there's going to be more stuff that happens. They talked about Shinji and the Vizards knowing about the Hogyoku and Aizen and stuff like that. So I assume the Hogyoku probably had something to do with their creation. Because the way Aizen talked about, like, combining Shinigami and Hollows at the end of Soul Society, he talked about it in a way like it was a theoretical thing, but the Vizards exist, and Aizen is aware of them. So if I had to guess, having not seen the rest of the story yet, is that the Vizards were created in some way by the Hogyoku, and that's why Aizen wanted it. We'll see when I get to the rest of the arc. Hopefully, I will start watching this at a more consistent pace again. My goal is to probably finish the anime, like the main story of the anime, by like the end of June, early July. That's my goal, and then get into the manga. But yeah, if you enjoyed my video, please subscribe. I will be doing more Bleach videos in the future, and if you enjoy other series such as Record of Ragnarok, Kengan Omega, and Chainsaw Man, I do videos on my channel for those series as well. Follow me on Twitter, I'll have a link in the description below, and I'll see you around.